LexisNexis Academic is a huge database of news resources, along with government documents and other resources for legal research, and business information. This video will cover some tips and eccentricities for using LexisNexis to retrieve news resources. To access LexisNexis from the library's homepage at library.clackamas.edu, under Find Articles, select Newspapers, and then click on the LexisNexis icon. You could use this basic search screen here for news articles, but you'll get lots more control of your search if you either open the News tab and select All News, or if you select All News from this little tiny link here. That takes you to the Advanced Search screen for All News, and now we get all kinds of useful choices, which we'll talk about in a minute. Newspaper articles are often good sources for information on a topic of local or regional interest. So for example, I might be looking for recent articles about medical marijuana in Oregon. A useful feature in this database is the location box, and this makes it easy to select just articles that have something to do with Oregon. And that gets me close to 200 articles, but this is weird. I've got articles from Australia, the London Times, the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, but I'm not getting anything local. You can see what's going on if we go back to Edit the Search. Here under Source, they've pre-selected it to major world publications, and for those of us in Oregon, that's a problem. So if you're looking for local or regional information, it's important to change this. Try the U.S. newspapers and newswires, that would be a good choice. And now I get over 2,000 articles. Now I did want recent articles, so back at my search screen, I'll select articles from just the last 2 years. LexisNexis also lets us tell the search engine where in an article to look for our results. This is called a field search, and it can be a big help in trimming the list down to the best articles. There are two good choices here. We can ask for articles with our terms in the headline and the lead paragraph instead of just anywhere in the article, or we can ask for articles that use our term at least 5 times. Either of those choices will help get articles that really focus on your topic, and I'll try the 5 occurrences one. Now we have just about 100 articles. Do be aware that LexisNexis was going to show you the most recent articles first, but you can change that, and since I've already set my date range, I'd like to let the search engine take its best shot at showing the most relevant ones to me first. Now that's a nice straightforward search, and it should get me some good articles. But here come some complications that are important to know about. To begin with, LexisNexis does default to an exact phrase search, which means that it looked for my keywords occurring exactly the way I entered them, right next to each other and in that order. That works okay in this case because the exact phrase medical marijuana is going to be used in a lot of articles. But look what happens if I try to narrow my search down a bit by adding another idea, such as enforcement. And I'll even switch my search back to search everywhere. I get no documents found at all, and that's because no article had that exact phrase, medical marijuana enforcement, all together like that, in anywhere in the article. So the key is that in LexisNexis you have to add in ands and ors to tell it exactly what you want. There are usually several good ways to do a search. In this case, a reasonable choice would be to keep the exact phrase medical marijuana and then use an and to include the idea of enforcement. So it has to be about, it has to mention medical marijuana, and it also has to mention enforcement somewhere. Notice that you can leave everything on one line like that, but you can generally get more flexibility if you put different ideas on different lines. And I'm going to switch this one back to headline and lead and ask for enforcement anywhere. And that search works pretty well with this topic. But what if there was a great article in this database that talks about medicinal marijuana instead of medical marijuana? I would want that in my results too. So I might want to separate the idea of medical from the idea of marijuana. That way I can include medicinal in my search. So now I would get the article if it used the word medical or if it used the word medicinal, as long as it also used the term marijuana. I could keep going. There are other terms I might want to include here. I might want to try, say, prescription or therapeutic. Similarly, along with marijuana, reporters might be using the term cannabis in their articles. And since newspapers are generally written for a popular audience, they might even be using terms like pot or weed, and I might want to include those in my search. Again, if I'm looking at enforcement, I might try the term monitoring or something like that. As you work with your search, be alert for other terms that come up that you might want to include. And while we're working with these ORs, here are a couple of useful little tricks. Instead of typing out medical or medicinal, I can put an exclamation point after medic. The exclamation point is the truncation symbol in LexisNexis, and it stands for any additional letters. So that will now get medic, medicine, medical, medicinal, anything like that. Similarly, I could put an exclamation point after the I in prescription, and that will get prescribe, prescribed, or prescription. And similarly, I could put it after the P in therapeutic, and now I will get therapy as well as therapeutic. Just a heads up here, many other search engines use an asterisk for truncation. LexisNexis does use the asterisk, but it uses it for a wildcard character, meaning that the asterisk stands for any single letter in this database. Now in this case, if anyone was using the alternate spelling of marijuana, spelling it with an H instead of a J, the wildcard would help us find it. Remember that you'll probably want to sort your results by relevance. And one last thing about viewing your results here. Notice these two articles here. They are actually the same. And with some searches you'll get lots of duplicates because many newspapers may carry the same article from a newswire service. So knowing that, LexisNexis handily provides us with a duplicate feature. If I turn it on, I'll turn it on to remove our duplicates with high similarity. Then it'll take care of those duplicates for me, and it will now have a little stacked paper symbol here that shows me that there are additional very similar articles. And those are some tips for searching news resources in LexisNexis Academic. To review, pay attention to which set of sources you're searching. Make sure they're the ones that you want. Keep different ideas on different lines. Use OR to include related terms. Truncation may be helpful. In this case, I might put a truncation right there. In newspapers, you'll probably do best by searching in the headline and lead, or else in the at least 5 occurrences. And once you're confident that you've got a good search, go ahead and set the date limit, and if it's appropriate for your project, choose a type of article. You'll probably want to sort your results by relevance, and you'll probably want to turn the duplicate options on. See the next video for tips on viewing and working with your results. Good hunting, and if you have any trouble getting good results with this database, be sure to ask your librarian.